The most hardcore skyblock, where at the very start all we had was a tiny island of dirt, but now things have gotten way more interesting. We beat the dragon after nearly 700 days of survival, but of course we're not stopping there. Today my goal is to build a massive floating island, complete with farms, animal pens, and of course villagers. How am I gonna get so many resources in such a limited world? Today we're going to find out. To be honest, I didn't even have planned for such a huge project. I had no idea where to start or how to gather dirt, stone, and all the other materials I'd need. So first things first, I decided to prepare for all of this. I figured it would be a good idea to work on the island we already have, setting up animal pens, iron and sugarcane farms, because these resources would be crucial in the future. I grabbed some azalea and a bit of bone meal and went to collect wood. I needed it to build the pens and finally put the end to the chaos happening on the island. Animals were running around everywhere, getting in the way of everything. For now, I kept the design simple. We'll worry about making it look nice later once we have the floating island. But for now, I decided to move the pigs into their new home. I'll be breeding them from time to time, so food definitely won't be a problem. Next to them, we'd have some sheep as well. And here's how it looks so far. Next, I moved around some villagers' workstations so they'd return to the farm and start producing new losers. For an iron farm, I'm gonna need a lot of them. When I woke up, I realized it was already day 700, so to celebrate, I went to gather stone. Very interesting. But I needed dirt. I threw some cobblestone into the furnace to smelt it into the stone, then I placed it next to the moss blocks and used bone meal on it, which instantly transformed the stone into moss. Then I grew azalea on these blocks, which turned them into rooted dirt. All that was left was to till it with a hoe. And just like that, black magic works perfectly. For the next 4 days I kept growing trees and duplicating dirt blocks, but all the effort was totally worth it. By the end I had over 15 stacks of wood and nearly 3 stacks of dirt. The next day I started placing down the dirt to build the iron farm on top of it. I even had to expand the island to make enough space. My idea was to use dirt so I could dig it up later if needed and would prevent golems from spawning outside the farm. But then I realized, what am I even doing in this life? Instead of dirt I could have just used carpets, and I had a ton of them. So I tore everything down and started rebuilding the golem farm from scratch. I placed down 3x3 platform where the villagers would sit. Next to it I built a box for the zombie, which would scare them into spawning golems. And just like that, the golem grinder was coming together. All that was left was to add a roof and barriers to keep the golems from falling off. Done! The iron heads will now get flushed right into the spot where we can easily take them out. When night fell, I waited for some zombies to spawn on the farm, hoping one of them will be able to pick up items. Oh, he grabbed it! By the way, this is done so the zombie doesn't despawn over time. And now this little guy is heading straight into his new home. That's it, buddy, you're staying here for eternity, understood? The next day I started transporting villagers to the iron farm using bows.
Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out of my house, you stupid bitch! I will fucking kill you!
Now I just need to set up their beds. To prevent golems from spawning outside the farm, I covered the surrounding area with carpets, and also decided to build another farm to double the iron production. Come on, get in there, you stubborn donkey. After that, I poured in the water and the farm was almost complete. Oh, the water's turning into ice. Guess I'll place some torches here, should help us with it. Next, I gathered some food and headed over to the villager farm. Oh, whoa, what are they doing here? Baby Sigma villager, nice! Now all that's left is to transport the villagers to the second iron farm, and once that's done, both farms will be up and running. You stupid golem, can't you move already? The last villager, and done. Oh, lava has collected in the cauldron. I'll place it by the cobblestone generator for now, we're gonna need a lot more of it later. I also didn't forget about feeding the animals, food and wool are always useful. I placed even more carpets around the iron farm, and now it's finally complete. And there's our first golem. At first, I had to kill them manually to collect enough iron for hoppers, and once that's set up, even this small simple farm will produce tons of iron. Well, time to spend a while farming golems. The golem spawns up top, blows into the trap, and we can take it out without no effort. Dang, that thing is really beating up the slimes. Why did the golem spawn outside the farm? Gotta take care of it. Take you.
I don't know, William! You better stop!
Whoa, he left me with just one heart. How many more hits does he need to go down? Just die already. Ooh. After grinding for a while, I finally had enough iron ingots. And hey, there is new lava in the cauldron. I crafted some hoppers and set up the auto collection system. The lava will go in the centers, so we don't have to keep killing golems manually. Then I worked on the second golem farm. That took some time, but in the end I got it running too. Now I had 2 fully operational AFK iron farms. And to test it, I went AFK for exactly 1 hour to see how much loot they would generate. Of course, a few golems still spawned outside the farm, but I just took them down and went back to AFKing. Alright, it's been about an hour, let's check the loot. From the first chest I got 3.5 stacks of iron. Well, the second farm only made about 1.5. No idea why the second one is working twice as slow, but this is still insane iron production. This will come in super handy later. And since I'm always doing something on the island, the farm stays loaded all the time, meaning the iron will keep piling up over time. Next, I crafted a shovel and started clearing the snow of the entire island. If you watch the first part of the survival, you know that the wandering traders can spawn on the snow, and I need them for new resources. I turned all the collected snow into snow blocks. They might be useful later, but for now, time to sleep. The next day I started expanding the platform to increase the chances of wandering trader appearing. This time I needed sugarcane to craft fireworks for elytra that we're gonna find in the end. Looks like I'd have to wait for a while for the right trade to show up. And also lighting up the area was a must to avoid unnecessary mob spawns. Here's what the platform looks like right now. But by the end of the day no trader showed up. As sun rose on day 719, I went right back to expanding the platform. I really needed that wandering trader, and finally next day the platform was done. Wait, Iron Man, what are you doing here? Suck it! From what I know, wandering traders are drawn toward bells, so if my version game is actually follows this mechanic, it should work. And sure enough, after stepping away from my PC for a bit, he spawned. Oh, he's here, and he's actually walking toward the bell. Yes, he has a sugarcane. No way I'm still getting lucky with trades. Sorry buddy, you go down. I grabbed all my emeralds and rushed to trade with him. I made sure to buy a little bit of everything, because in the world like this, every resource is precious and you never know when something might come in handy. After securing the sugarcane, I immediately got to work on the farm for it. I set up 2 rows of dirt, added blocks on the sides, and placed water in between to let the sugarcane grow without any issues. These are our first sugarcane crops, that's a victory. To make movement easier, I added stone stairs on the sides and placed slabs in the water. Now it's way more convenient to walk around the farm. It doesn't look perfect, but for now functionality is all that matters. As the 722nd day began, I decided to wait for the sugarcane to grow, harvesting it whenever possible and replanting it in empty spots. That's pretty much how I spent the next 7 days. With the replay mod's high speed, you might not notice it, but I'm constantly running down to plant more sugarcane. A zombie decided to pay me a visit, so it looks like standing AFK on the pillar wasn't a waste of time. I'm slowly planting the second row of sugarcane now, and this is how it looks so far. The view here is incredible, the northern lights, it looks absolutely stunning. While I was AFK, my iron farm produced a solid amount of materials, pretty impressive. Wow, look at that stare down, I think Golem has upper hand here. Why is the zombie even trying to act tough? The atmosphere here is cozy, with the sound of crickets and frogs in the background. I'll keep growing sugarcane and just enjoy the peaceful vibes. After a few more days, I finally managed to fill the entire farm with sugarcane. Now it's ready for full use. The wandering trader showed up again, and here's what he's offering this time. I think the pumpkin seeds are the most useful thing here. Another wandering trader came by, but I ran out of emeralds, so I had to farm a few more. I bought some pumpkin seeds from him, and just in case I grabbed a bucket of fish and flour. I have no idea why, but why not? I'm deciding here what to do, okay? Then I kept harvesting sugarcane because I'm planning to head to the end soon to find elytra and other valuable resources. I'll need plenty of it to craft fireworks ahead of time. At the end of the day, I sorted all my resources. The next morning, I set out to mine cobblestone since I needed a decent amount of blocks for my trip to the end. I gathered some more sugarcane, crafted it into paper, and then made fireworks. Now with my inventory full of supplies, it was time to start the long journey to the end portal. I reached it by nightfall, jumped in and made my way to the further island's portal, placing a trapdoor like this and teleporting. Spawned right on the top of chorus plants. Let's grab the flowers, they might come in handy later if I decide to build a chorus farm. And some chorus fruit itself, who knows how long we'll be stuck in this place. If I run out of food, this could be a lifesaver. And I also decided to mine some end stones since I realized I had way too few blocks. Oh, I see the city, but no ship. Either way, I decided to head over and check it out. I was getting closer, so I started bridging with wooden slabs. Alright, I'm here. There's a shulker right in the entrance. I need to take it out. Damn it, get off me! It hit me anyway. Why there's so many of these little poops flying around? Is there a shulker spawner or something? Hello? One down, and the second one too. After clearing the city, I didn't find anything interesting besides shulkers. So I continued searching for a bigger and better one. On the way, I built a small roof and took down an enderman. I don't have many ender pearls left, so getting a few more is definitely useful. They'll help me save blocks and move between islands more efficiently. Oh, I see another end city in the distance. This one looks tiny too, probably nothing in there but more shulkers. That one is huge. Finally, let's go over there. At the entrance, I was greeted by two idiots. Quickly took them down and started making my way inside. One chest had some gold and iron ingots, while another had 3 enchanted diamond chest plates. The loot was decent, but honestly I was hoping for a good enchanted pickaxe. Because like a dummy I brought the iron one on this trip, and it's already on the verge of breaking. Oh, and another chest with even more loot. Course fruit? Ooh, only had 3 hearts left. At least I got another advancement. I decided to mine more blocks, but my pickaxe finally broke. I tried using what I had left to start bridging to the ship, but halfway through it became obvious that I wouldn't have enough. So I had to climb back down and rethink my approach. I went back to the fortress, but chose a different tunnel this time. The shulkers actually helped me levitate up, and I found a chest with efficiency 4 diamond pickaxe. So I ate a chorus fruit and teleported back down. This pickaxe is a lifesaver, absolutely insane. With my new tool I mined a ton of blocks and finally finished bridging to the end ship. First I took down a brewing stand with me, used the healing potion to restore some health, took down the shulker and started checking the chests. The first one had some diamond gear and the second one 4 whole diamonds and a bunch of armor. And of course the elytra. Oh yeah, after all that effort I finally got my elytra and diamonds. Over 700 days of survival. This is honestly the hardest and longest challenge I've ever played. With the elytra in hand, I set off to loot more end cities. There's gotta be another city nearby. Oh, I see one. After looting another chest and grabbing some pumpkin seeds and emeralds, I decided not to waste any more time. My inventory was completely full and there was just no room for more loot. So I started looking for the portal to return home. And straight into the portal. After looking around for a bit, I decided to return to my island, stash all my loot and take a well-earned break after this adventure. Oh, a wandering trader? Meh, let him stand there, I don't really need anything from him. Now I needed to sort all my loot and also farm some pigs, since I'd completely run out of food after the trip. And because I was planning to return to the end soon to get more resources, extra food definitely wouldn't hurt. After that, I crafted a shulker box to store my loot more conveniently and made another trip to the end. This time I was determined to loot as much as possible. We have a problem. My elytra is breaking really fast and I don't think I'll be able to travel that fast. You know what? Forget it, I'm heading home. I'm not spending hours wandering around here anymore. Back in the overworld, I started expanding the platform where passive mobs used to spawn. Hopefully at some point cows would spawn there since I still didn't have any and needed leather to craft books. That was crucial because I had already gathered diamonds and the only thing left was to craft an enchantment table. Alright, I'll AFK here and wait for the cows to spawn. Hopefully they show up soon. A few days later, the first one appeared. There is only one for now, so I have to wait for another. Jump. Oh, half a heart left. How did I even miss that? And a chicken spawned on the grass platform as well. Not part of my plan, so... After that, I started building a small pen for the cows. Honestly, I'm a master builder, look at this whole pen. Then I harvested some wheat and lured the first cow in. Now I just needed to find a second one to start breeding them. I went back to my spot and waited, and waited, and waited, and at the end of the day another cow finally spawned. Now they should figure out what to do on their own. For the next few days I focused on breeding cows and handling small tasks around the island while also continuing to farm sugarcane. On the morning of day 745, I went cobblestone mining and then spent the next few days building a new trading area for villagers, finishing it by the end of day 747.
Alright, now it's time for the slaughter.
Next, I crafted books, turned them into bookshelves, and then used those to make lecterns for librarians. After that, I started moving villagers into the trading area to get the mending trade for my elytra, since that's pretty much the only way to get them working again.
Oh, that was fast, but it cost 24 emeralds. Alright, we can farm 16 emeralds from paper. That leaves us with 5 more to go. Time to grind some carrots until nightfall. Wake up! Buy my stuff. Alright, that should be enough. Oh, finally we have that saint book. This is where we set up the anvil, and done.
Just a couple of swings at the mob farm and elytra is fully repaired. That's amazing. By the way, the librarian unlocked some new trades, Unbreaking 3 and a lantern.
You stay here, got it? And don't move.
Here's how our island looks right now. Honestly, it's crazy to think I've been surviving here for so long, yet I'm still living on this makeshift platform. That definitely needs to change. I finally decided to fully enchant my armor and tools before heading back to the end. The next day, I started re-rolling librarian traits to get enchantments like feather falling and protection.
How much? We'll deal with that later.
And over here, we'll have a cleric to trade rotten flesh with.
Finally, my stashes come in handy.
First things first, I decided to buy an Unbreaking 3 book, apply it to my elytra and head straight to the end portal. This time we can loot properly since the elytra with these enchantments won't break anytime soon. I stuck to my usual flying strategy, starting from the ship's bow. Not sure if it's true, but they say flying this way increases your chances of spotting another ship.
Oh, hold on.
In the first chest, I found diamond tools, in the second armor and gold. Then I came across another chest with tools before heading straight for the ship. Extra elytra are never a bad thing. One chest had a bunch of gold and the other diamonds. I packed everything into a shulker box and continued searching for more end cities. Days passed as I kept looting. I have no idea how many hours I spent wandering through these cities, but I gathered an absurd amount of loot, armor, tools, gold, emeralds, everything you could ask for. I cleaned out my inventory and started hunting for useful enchantments for my gear.
This one's coming with me. Alright, Feather Falling 2. Looks like I'll need to buy 3 more books for the max level, but I'm kinda broke on emeralds.
The next morning, I sold some paper to the librarian, then remembered I brought some emeralds back from the end, so things weren't looking too bad. A nether portal is now officially transforming into enchanting table. Combined everything for Feather Falling 4 and we're set. Now I also need to breed more cows since I'll need a ton of leather for bookshelves to start enchanting properly. The next few days were all about that, expanding my cow farm and farming emeralds since I was still running low. At some point, a wandering trader showed up with some new goodies. By the end of the day, after gathering a decent stash of emeralds, I bought a little bit of everything from him. The most valuable item turned out to be a spruce sapling. With it, I'll be able to build so much in the future. And since my cow population had grown significantly, it was time to put them to good use. In the end, I gathered 29 leather, crafted books, and then bookshelves. But even such a number of shelves is not enough for the 30th level of enchantments. After some time, I finally gathered the required number of bookshelves. Everything was set, now I just needed lapis to finally start enchanting.
Hey, why are you pushing me? Dude, you got a problem?
I farmed emeralds and bought 10 lapis. First, I enchanted my chest plate with protection 3 and unbreaking. Then, by combining 2 of them, I got protection 4, and now all that's left are the boots and helmet. So I enchanted my helmet with protection 4, aqua affinity and respiration. That just left the boots, so I kept grinding emeralds and buying more lapis. My first pair of boots had protection 3, the second the same but also depth strider. Combining them gave me a pretty solid piece of gear, but I also decided to throw in feather falling. Now I had a full set of top tier armor. Just awesome. Let's even test how much fall damage I take if I jump from the mob farm.
A heart and a half and they instantly heal back. That's insane.
Now that I'm fully geared up, it's time to focus on the main goal of this episode, building a floating island. I'll need a massive amount of resources: stone, cobblestone, and dirt. In this world where every resource is precious, gathering all of this won't be easy, so I decided to start with the easiest one, cobblestone, using my upgraded generator. But for it to work at full efficiency, I'll need a beacon, and that means we have to fight the Wither. So it's time to enchant a sword with looting 3. Oh, and I don't have a nether portal anymore, so I need to head to the end, grab some obsidian and rebuild it.
Hey, move it, man. Wait, is he talking?
The next day, I used lava to ignite the portal and stepped into the nether.
Oh, come on, I just broke the portal. What a pain. What the heck is this? Villagers, pigs, cats and iron golem. What kind of elite army is this?
Thankfully, I had some lava and wood with me, so I reignited the portal. Now, back to the grind. Of course, my priority was wither skeletons, but I also had to take care of some blazes along the way.
Oh, I already have 3 skulls. Didn't even notice when that happened.
Returning to my island, I crafted fireworks, and once my stakes were ready, I set off for the end portal. As soon as I arrived, I parked under the portal and spawned the Wither. Since it got stuck in the bedrock, taking it down was a breeze. Yeah, I'm not about to fight it on the surface and risk blowing everything up. After obtaining the Nether Star, I headed back to the overworld. At this point, my iron farm had already produced enough resources for a full-powered beacon.
Dang, this villager really settled in. Is he even comfortable like that? Yeah, and the other ones on the farm aren't doing any better. They're just sleeping all over the place. Looks like they couldn't care less.
The next day, I harvested my sugarcane, built out a little platform to avoid surprise creeper attacks, and started waiting for a wandering trader. To craft a full beacon, I needed glass, and the only way to get it was from a trader. But after standing around for 6 whole days, he never showed up. Not wanting to waste more time, I decided to automate my mob farm. I crafted magma blocks, chests, minecarts, and rails. After setting up a simple mechanism, I made it so mobs would burn on the magma blocks, and the drops would be collected by a minecart into a chest. Now I could periodically grab rotten flesh and trade it with the cleric for emeralds. On day 775, the wandering trader finally appeared, but out of all the stuff he had, the only useful thing was jungle saplings, so I bought those. Then I decided to go ahead and build the beacon platform. Once it was ready, it was just a matter of waiting for the trader to sell me some sand. It had to happen eventually.
Man, I've been playing for so long and I still can't get over how beautiful this world looks.
To stay productive, I started gathering materials for a next level cobblestone generator. I prepped 10 hoppers, 2 redstone torches, repeaters, and 2 pistons. For trapdoors, I needed wood, so I crafted a diamond axe, enchanted it with efficiency 4, and set out to chop some oak. Next, I turned all my bone meal into blocks. This was the perfect base material for the generator since it's non-flammable and, more importantly, I had an insane amount of it. Now, time to start building. Here's what it looks like for now. The next morning, I began working on the generator itself. I placed a chest, hoppers, and trapdoors. Using the same method, I built a trapdoor barrier behind me and added blocks 1 level higher. This is where I'd pour the water and lava. To prevent it from spilling everywhere, I placed 2 more trapdoors in the front. Then I poured in the water on one side and dumped lava on top. Next, I set up pistons on the sides, placed torches underneath, and used repeaters to create a mini redstone circuit that would push me back and forth, making mining super easy. Alright, I think I did everything right. I spent an entire day troubleshooting, rebuilding and testing different setups before finally realizing I used a wooden button instead of a stone one. There we go, now it works. Praise the Minecraft gods. The mechanism moves me back and forth while I mine. Absolutely perfect. In the future I'll be able to AFK and farm tons of blocks. I also poured water on the other side. Now instead of cobblestone I could farm stone directly, which is way faster to mine. Finally, I built a small storage area at the bottom, making the cobblestone generator fully complete. These damn slimes are driving me insane, you have no idea. I took a drastic approach and straight up demolished the part of the island where they kept spawning. Oh, much better. I harvested my sugarcane, combined 2 pickaxes to get one with efficiency 4, then merged that with my main pickaxe to achieve efficiency 5. Bomboklat! Once I activate haste 2 on the beacon, I'll be able to mine stone instantly. Even without it, I managed to collect 5 stacks of cobblestone in just a couple of minutes. Absolutely insane. Now all that's left is to wait for the wandering traders so we can start grinding out blocks. The next day, while I was standing in the cow pen, the trader finally showed up. He has sand. No way, I think they know what I need all this time. I sold rotten flesh to the cleric and used the emeralds to buy as much sand as I could. In the end, I only got half a stack, but even that would last a while. I smelted it down and finally crafted the beacon. Oh yeah, after 781 days we finally have our first beacon. A beacon in hardcore skyblock. If that's not worth a like, I don't know what is. I grabbed some iron and activated haste 2. Now, with this effect and an efficiency 5 pickaxe, I could instantly mine stone. Just look at this mining speed. I'll be able to gather enough blocks to build a massive floating island just like I planned. This is absolutely insane. After just a few minutes of mining, I got more than a row of cobblestone. Dang, now that's what I call a proper farm. I ended up AFKing for about 30 minutes. My pickaxe was on the verge of breaking, but in return I gathered an insane amount of stone. The mining speed here is just crazy. After that, I harvested some sugarcane, turned it into paper, and sold to the librarian. I needed to farm 21 emeralds to buy a mending book for my pickaxe. Bought it and enchanted the pickaxe. I slightly modified the mob farm and spent the whole morning grinding until I fully repaired my tool. At some point, I really need to upgrade the farm. This one is getting really slow for my needs. Then I went back to AFKing and farming blocks. From time to time I had to run to the mob farm to repair my pickaxe. And after a few days I had already filled up more than 2 double chests with cobblestone. That should be enough to build an upgraded mob farm. Yeah, I decided to start with that one. But before I could begin, I needed to gather some more materials. First, I stocked up on redstone, found a bunch of bows, and crafted droppers and hoppers. Once everything was ready, I started building the farm at the very edge of my island. Here's what this Eiffel Tower looks like so far. Mobs will spawn at the platform with dispensers, and later I'll fill them with water and set up a timer to activate the whole system. Next, I headed to the Nether to mine some quartz and craft a comparator for the timer. I found a piglin and started trading. Then back to the overworld, crafted the comparator, placed it here and turned it on. While the cobblestone was smelting, I crafted torches and bought even more redstone. Once the stone was ready, I finally crafted 19 repeaters. But even that wasn't enough for the whole mechanism, so I had to trade with villagers again to get more redstone. Placed more repeaters, all with the longest delay. Damn, still 3 repeaters short. Done, finally. After that, I skipped the night and spent the whole morning filling buckets with water to load into the dispensers. Holy crap, look at all these mobs. Am I even supposed to do something there? And something just exploded. Damn it. Alright, looks like there are fewer now. Then I started loading the water buckets into the dispensers. Some mobs got in the way, but I dealt with them quickly. Oh wow, what kind of horror game is it? There were just insane amounts of mobs. I even started knocking them off while flying with Elytra, and I gotta say, I was doing a pretty good job at it. There was the last dispenser. Hey, stop blowing up already! How many times is it gonna happen? Now I needed to figure out where all the mobs would drop down. The next morning, I finished the main drain platform for the mobs and added another one at the bottom so they would all funnel into a single spot. That way it would be much easier and more efficient to kill them. I also placed some chests nearby to store all the junk. Let's add some slabs so the mobs don't hit me. Looks like good enough. Time to start this contraption. Flipping the lever and there it goes. All the mobs are pouring down and apparently glowing squids spawn here too. Now that's some next level efficiency. The amount of mobs spawning in this farm is just crazy. Thanks to this setup, I'll be able to repair my pickaxe in just a couple of minutes. I combined 2 swords and got Smite 5. Why is this guy sleeping on the ground? Looks like he doesn't care where he sleeps. Just pissed out in random spot. Oh, I just found a sword with sweeping edge. This is gonna make farming mobs even easier. Spider somehow still managed to hit me. So I smelted the stone to get smooth one and crafted an armor stand. Placed it here and started hitting it. Since the armor stand has a hitbox, the attacks pass through it. And because my sword has the sweeping edge enchantment, it also hits the mobs. This way I can kill them as safely and efficiently as possible. Dang, this is totally broken. I can basically fight mobs without even touching them. I could even block everything off and I'd still be hitting them. This is way too OP. For the sake of this farm, I even decided to enchant my sword with sweeping edge. Terrible enchantments again, and now I'm out of XP. Thankfully we have our farms, so we can grind back to level 30 so easily. On top of that, besides XP, I was also collecting rotten flesh, which I later sold to the cleric for easy emeralds. That's basically how my next few days went, grinding XP and then running off to enchant my sword. I figured it would be easier to find a villager selling sweeping edge since I really needed that enchantment. I kept breaking and placing the lectern over and over again, resetting his traits until I finally found what I needed. Oh, he's selling sweeping edge too! After buying the book, I immediately applied it to my sword. Then I farmed even more emeralds and bought a mending book, which I also slapped onto my blade. With this sword, I can take down a whole bunch of mobs in just a few hits. This will massively boost my farm's efficiency and cut down the time I spend repairing my pickaxe. Before continuing to mine cobblestone, I gathered some wood and built a huge storage for resources. Now that everything was set, I went AFK at the cobblestone farm. The next few days were just block farming. Whenever my pickaxe got close to breaking, I took a break, transferred all the mined cobblestone to storage, repaired my tool and got back to grinding. That's how my miserable survival days went. After spending a ridiculous amount of time, I finally gathered enough cobblestone. Hopefully it's enough. Now I needed to start collecting stone because my island will mainly consist of 3 materials: cobblestone, stone and dirt. So I had to enchant my pickaxe with silk touch to mine stone instead of cobblestone. For that I needed a new lectern for the librarian. I headed to the farm and started the usual cycle of resetting trades. Oh, there it is! Buying it! Applied it to my pickaxe and now I can mine stone instead of cobblestone. This is amazing! Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you, every single one of these chests is completely stuffed with cobblestone. This is actually insane. After that, I repaired my pickaxe and went back to the usual grind, mining blocks, storing them and fixing my tool. That's how the next few days went. But just look at how much stone I managed to gather. Honestly, I don't even know how many chests this is, but I really hope it's enough to build a floating island. The scale of this project is going to be insane. Next, I decided to enchant all my armor with mending since some pieces were starting to break. I farmed carrots and sold them to the farmer, but that was way too slow for getting emeralds, so I went back to grinding rotten flesh. With my new sword, farming became so much faster. Another great way to earn emeralds was sugarcane. I harvested it, turned it into paper and sold to the librarian. First book is here, gonna put it on my helmet before it gets too expensive. To farm rotten flesh even more efficiently, I headed to the nether and flew to my zombie piglin farm that I built already a while ago. I hit one of them and they rushed toward me, fell down and died on impact. After a while I went down to collect all the rotten flesh. For now, we don't have a fully automated emerald farm, so this still takes forever. But in the end, I managed to enchant the rest of my armor with mending. The next step toward our goal is building a magma cube farm. With it, I can create a massive zombie piglin farm that will let me farm insane amounts of gold. I'll use that gold to trade with piglins for gravel and quartz. Why do I need them? I'll explain a bit later, but the final result will be dirt.
Yep, you heard it right, dirt. And now we're gonna build a magma cube farm, but for that we'll need wither roses. And for those who don't know, there is only one way to get them. You have to make a wither kill mobs. Not an easy task, but we don't really have another option. So let's start by farming wither skeleton skulls. Again, the gas blew up my portal. Damn it, I need to figure out how to get out of here.
Mobs in the nether are actually quite friendly, which is why a blaze helped me reignite the portal.
Ooh, it's lit. I thought I was gonna stuck here forever.
After that, I started fighting the mobs spawning at the farm.
One heart left. Ooh, almost died.
A few days later, I gathered 3 wither skeleton skulls and headed to the end portal. I summoned the wither for the second time and began luring endermen towards it, hoping the wither would kill them, allowing me to collect roses. However, the wither turned into a crazy turret, destroying everything in its path. And also he flew out and started chasing me. I then lured endermen towards it, hoping they'd die and drop wither roses, but no roses dropped. So I had no choice but to kill the wither without accomplishing my plan.
Oh, I picked up a wither rose. Wait, what? Where did that even come from?
Confused, I started repairing the damage and returned to my island. I decided to change my strategy. Instead of using endermen, I'd use a special mechanism that kills snow golems. Hopefully this method would be more efficient. To execute my plan, I removed a line of sugarcane and planted pumpkins instead. Then I found some snowballs in my chest and crafted snow blocks. I also needed dispensers and an observer for automation.
Oh, the first pumpkin has already grown. I can start expanding the farm bit by bit.
For the next 5 days, I waited for the pumpkins to grow, expanded the farm, and patiently waited to gather enough. To be honest, it was a long and boring process, but I had no other choice. Eventually, I gathered 42 pumpkins. After that, I had to go back to the nether for the 3rd time to farm wither skeleton skulls. Seriously, what a grind. Luckily, with looting 3, they dropped quite often. I collected 3 skulls in just a few days and headed back to the end portal. Once there, I set up the area for the wither and placed 2 dispensers connected to an observer. The upper dispenser would hold pumpkins, while the lower one would contain shears to carve them off the snow golems. This setup would give me an infinite supply of pumpkins. After putting away unnecessary items in a chest, I summoned the wither and activated the mechanism, but once again something went wrong.
Wow, I'm such an idiot, I forgot to carve the pumpkins.
Realizing my mistake, I quickly placed and carved the pumpkins, and the mechanism started working perfectly. Now all I had to do was place 2 snow blocks, spawning a snow golem whose pumpkin was immediately sheared off. Then the golem would fall into the wither's chamber and die, dropping a wither rose. Since the pumpkins are infinite and snow drops when the golems die, I could stand there as long as I needed to collect the required amount of wither roses. Also, even though the wither was stuck in the blocks, it couldn't die because its health partially regenerated with each snow golem killed. After collecting a little over 2 stacks of wither roses, I killed him, turned off the mechanism and headed back home.
All the necessary resources for the magma farm will go into this chest. Oh, the island's on fire! How did it even happen? What the heck? I need to put out this fast. Ooh, looks like I extinguished it. The rest of the island is safe.
On the night of day 821, my island somehow caught fire. I suspect it was from a lightning strike, but was the chance of that even happening? Thankfully, I noticed it quickly, so the damage was minimal. I continued gathering resources for my new farm. I also needed leaves and dirt, so I managed to multitask and collect everything needed. Once everything was ready, I headed to the nether to find the basalt deltas biome, and after a few minutes I found it. First, I placed rails with a minecart, then dirt blocks on top of the structure and planted wither roses. To prevent magma cubes from escaping, I added blocks on the sides and elevated the entire structure. After that, I built out 9 blocks in each direction, connected the edges diagonally, forming an octagonal platform. Then, 4 blocks above, I built the second level with the same design except for the leaves. I extended the leaves 5 blocks out from the main platform, connecting everything to increase the spawn rate. This method works insanely well. The number of mobs spawning was crazy and they were getting in the way of placing the iron golem capsule. Since I was running low on fireworks and food, I went back to restock quickly before returning to finish building the farm. When I returned, most of the slimes had already despawned, so I could safely finish building the chamber. Alright, placing it, and done. Now this golem will attract all the slimes. The farm is officially complete. To maximize the spawn rate, I built 120 blocks up. This is where I'll FK. I can see the farm working from up here, and there is a ton of slimes down there. To avoid getting killed by a guest, I built a small room where I'll stay safe. Here's how the farm looks from a distance. I only realized later while reviewing the footage that I placed the golem's chambers slightly off-center. Because of that, slimes on one side weren't falling into the trap. But even with this mistake, the farm was still producing a massive amount of slimes, which fell into the trap and died as planned. After AFKing for an hour, the chest was almost completely filled with magma. I crafted it into blocks and ended up with over a full row of magma blocks. Just awesome! But for the zombified piglin farm, I'll need even more, so I went back to AFK some more. After fixing the farm, it became even more efficient. After about an hour and a half of waiting, my shulker box was completely filled. With this amount, I can start building the piglin farm. I went back home, killed some animals, restocked my food, and grabbed the cooked meat. After healing up, I gathered shulkers with all the necessary resources for the piglin farm. It took me the whole evening to get everything ready before heading back to the nether. Building off from my old farm, I started working on the new one. I made a room where I'll kill the piglins and then began constructing the spawning platforms. Magma blocks are used to prevent other mobs from spawning. Most of them avoid spawning on magma because it takes damage. This allows piglins to spawn without competition from other mobs, maximizing the spawn rate. Unfortunately, I ran out of magma blocks before finishing the last layer, so I had to go back to the slime farm. I can't even imagine how many slimes this farm has killed by now. I'm so exhausted, you have no idea. After a few days, I finally returned to finish the farm. By the way, to avoid taking damage from the magma blocks, you can either enchant boots with Frostwalker or just shift. I'm using the shift method, even though it's pretty inconvenient. For the last layer, instead of another platform, I placed slabs to prevent the spawn of piglins. Unlike most mobs, they don't take damage from magma blocks, so they can spawn on them without a problem, which is why they are so annoying for us. It's all done, there are already tons of piglins spawning, this is awesome! In the kill room, I added ladders to climb out and safely lure the piglins. I also added a trapdoor here to make sure nothing can get to me. Alright, everything's ready, here's how it looks. I went back to my island, grabbed a bow and flew back to the farm. Stand right here, fire the arrow. Alright, they're coming. Now they're rushing toward me and fall into the trap where I can easily kill them. There are so many of them here that they're even suffocating each other. This is insane. In just a few minutes I got 21 gold blocks. This farm is perfect. This new zombified piglin farm is 10 times better than the old one. The spawn rate is insane and I can kill them manually. Plus, with looting 3 on my sword, I'm getting even more gold. The only downside to this farm is the golden swords. They clutter the inventory so much. Because of this, I constantly have to sort through my inventory and chests. But after just 15 minutes of farming, I already had 52 gold blocks. For convenience, I added chests here to store all the rotten flesh. And in this shulker, I'll store the gold blocks as they pile up. This farm is completely OP, just wait for the piglins to fall into the trap, go down and finish them off in a few hits. I spent the next hour farming gold non-stop. The XP just keeps coming, when's it gonna stop? After just a little time here, I filled the chest with rotten flesh and gathered over a stack and a half of gold blocks. That's insane! My days were full of monotony and endless grinding. I needed an absurd amount of gold. After more than 2 hours of real-time farming, I hit level 190 and my shulker was filled with over 6 stacks of gold blocks. I think that would be enough for my plan, or at least for the beginning. I gathered the shulkers and finally flew back to my island. It felt like forever since I'd been here. Everything's still intact, nothing's on fire, and that's a relief. When I returned, the first thing I did was start gathering resources for yet another farm. I hope you're not tired of farms yet, because I definitely am. This time we need piglins. The plan is to use the gold we've gathered to trade with them and get gravel. We can use that to craft coarse dirt and then turn it into regular dirt. Essentially, this allows us to infinitely duplicate it. Plus, piglins can drop quartz, which we can use to craft diorite and then convert it into andesite. This will help diversify my block palette, making my floating island look even cooler. First, I used the wood I gathered earlier to craft a ton of chests, but even that wasn't enough, so I went to collect more oak. Eventually, I managed to craft over a stack of hoppers and gathered 120 chests, and all other necessary resources. Then I headed to the Nether to prepare for the build. After gathering all the necessary materials, I started constructing the piglin farm where my old zombified piglin farm used to be. I began by placing chests with one block of space between them and connecting hoppers to them. Then I added another layer of chests to ensure they wouldn't overflow. Using leaves, I built the bases for the piglin chambers and placed droppers. I covered the hoppers with carpets and put pressure plates in front of the droppers to detect when to throw gold to the piglins. After setting up the redstone mechanisms, everything seemed to be working fine, except I forgot that I'd need glass blocks to seal off the piglin chambers. It's not just for looks. Glass needs to be pushed by pistons because the piglin standing on the carpet is just over 2 blocks tall. I went back to my island and waited for the wandering trader, hoping to buy sand from him.
I'll wait here by the coast since he showed up here last time.
After 4 days of waiting, he didn't show up. So I went to my old spot and found him standing there.
Dude, how did you even get here? And you don't have any sand.
Realizing why he wasn't spawning, I went back to my spot and waited some more. And you know what? After a few days, I realized something.
There was sand here all along from when I built a beacon. Wow, I'm stupid.
I smelted it and went to gather more wood, which I used to craft pistons. After collecting the glass, I returned to the Nether. I set up the pistons and glass to seal the piglins inside.
Alright, this is how it's gonna work.
Next, I crafted some gold ingots and built a leafy path upwards. I needed to lure the piglins up with gold, eventually leading them into the chambers.
Alright, fall in. Got it. The first one's in.
In the chaos of mobs, I managed to separate out the piglins surprisingly well. After clearing out the mobs, I sealed off the chambers.
There we go. All set.
Everything was ready, so I loaded each dropper with 9 stacks of gold. But when I activated the mechanism, nothing worked.
Seriously? I spent ages building this and it doesn't even work.
I realized the mechanism failed because I used stone pressure plates instead of wooden ones. Since I flew quite far away, zombified piglins respawned and I had to fight them again. While dealing with them, a ghast shot me right as I was at the piglin farm, and he managed to break 2 piglin chambers.
Great, just great.
I tried to fix them and lure in new piglins, but I almost died in the process and barely escaped with half a heart.
Ooh, that was too close. I'm heading back to the island.
Back on the island, I stocked up on golden carrots to restore my health and headed back to the Nether. When I returned, I found that besides the 2 broken chambers, some piglins had despawned from other chambers, so I had to lure even more of them all over again. Honestly, I was getting really tired of dealing with these crazy pigs. Then I removed the stone slabs and replaced them with wooden ones. When I started the mechanism, I finally saw that everything was working perfectly. The gold stays on the pressure plate until a piglin picks it up. Once he grabs the ingot, the plate gets activated and the dropper spits out another gold piece. This process can go on infinitely as long as I don't run out of gold.
Oh man, some gold ingots are flying out.
I tried to fix this by placing some blocks, but then a ghast suddenly spawned and shot at the farm again. Luckily, this time I managed to deflect its fireball, so the farm was unharmed. After sealing off the last of the droppers, I headed to the AFK room. To build this piglin farm, I first had to create a wither rose farm, then a magma cube farm, and finally a gold farm. And now, thanks to the gold, I can AFK at the piglin farm and get all the resources I need.
I gotta say, this is insane. I've never survived in such hardcore setup before. This is just nuts.
After an hour and a half of AFKing, all the gold was used up and I ended up with 12 chests full of resources. I immediately started sorting everything and ended up with just over 2 shulkers full of gravel and also nearly a full shulker of quartz. Now comes the fun part, turning the gravel into dirt. I grabbed a shovel and some dirt I already had, then combined the gravel with the regular dirt to make coarse dirt. From there, I just had to place it, till it, and it would transform into normal dirt. This method lets us get tons of this valuable resource, because essentially we're duplicating all the dirt we have. All we need to do is farm gold, AFK at the piglin farm, and then convert the gravel. Rinse and repeat until we get the amount we need.
Thank goodness the shovel instantly mines the blocks, so it hardly takes any time at all.
For the next 5 days, I was busy converting gravel into dirt. I would have kept going if not for one small problem. My shovel was about to break. I had to put mending on the shovel and hoe so I could repair the tools, and went to the zombified piglin farm. The XP here is insane, so I repaired all my tools in just a few seconds. Back to converting gravel into dirt. The process was super time consuming since I had to till each block with a hoe. It was tedious work, but I didn't have a choice. I planned to build a massive floating island. After a while I managed to gather nearly a full shulker of dirt, but my tools kept breaking way too quickly. To solve this, I sold rotten flesh, earned more emeralds, and bought an Unbreaking 3 book. I enchanted my shovel, repaired my tools, and went back to converting gravel into dirt once more. I have no idea how much gravel is left, but I'm so tired of this, you wouldn't believe it. Standing here forever, placing and tilling blocks, then flying off to repair my tools. And just so you know, this is the fastest method to get dirt. If you think about it, there is literally no faster way. That's how my days went by until I converted all the gravel I had. In the end, I got just over 2 shulkers of dirt. Considering how scarce resources were at the start, I'd say that's an incredible result. Next, I combined the quartz with cobblestone to make diorite. Then I mixed the diorite with more cobblestone to get andesite. I'll use this to diversify the palette for my floating island. Everything was basically ready, so I could start building and gather more resources as needed. I decided to construct the floating island near my old one. Somewhere around here I build up a bit higher, and I'll start sketching out the basic shape soon. To give you an idea, I spent about 10 days just creating the outline of the future island, either from the number of days I've played or from all the non-stop building, but unfortunately the replay mod bugged out and the recording won't load. Here's how it looks so far, and I've gotta say the scale of this is massive. I'm so exhausted from building, you have no idea. And this is just the outline. You can't even imagine how much more suffering awaits me. Once the outline was complete, I started filling it in with dirt. At some point I seriously thought I made the island too big and wouldn't be able to handle the scale, but despite that I kept placing block after block. I've already run out of dirt blocks, and I haven't even filled half the island. This is insane, but there is no turning back now. I had no choice, so I went back to the nether and flew to the zombie piglin farm. I'd have to spend a lot of time here again to repeat the entire process and get at least a couple more shulkers of dirt. I have no idea how much gold I need, but at least this farm produces a ton of it. After about an hour and a half, I managed to gather 4 more stacks of gold blocks. Then I headed to the piglin farm, loaded the gold into the droppers, and started waiting. I spent about another hour waiting since trading with piglins isn't exactly fast. In the end, I got a full inventory of gravel that needed to be turned into dirt, and that took a ton of time too. Finally, I went back to building the floating island. It's crazy how much time I spent on this just to explain it to you in a minute. And to be honest, I didn't even have enough dirt, so I had to fly back to the nether several more times and repeat the whole process. You have no idea how exhausted I was. My finger literally started hurting from placing so many dirt blocks. Placing the last block? Ooh, done. This is insane, just look at the scale of this. I never would have thought I'd end up building something this massive. I really hope all this effort was worth it. After that, I flew to my old island, where I used the Silk Touch pickaxe to gather grass blocks. I went back and started placing them randomly. Over time the grass will spread and the entire island will be covered in greenery. Next, I began adding volume to the island. I built platforms slightly lower and added dirt blocks to create more natural shapes. Honestly, this was pretty challenging, but I wanted the island to look good, so I had no choice. By the way, I used cobblestone for the temporary platforms, which was a big mistake since breaking them later takes way longer than regular stone blocks. It's already looking a bit better, and the grass is starting to spread too. It actually looks pretty amusing. I skipped the night and continued adding shape to the island. I didn't finish until the end of day 945, but I could finally see some progress. The next morning, I built even lower and started adding shape using cobblestone, stone, and andesite. I tried to place the blocks in a way that the colors wouldn't blend too much. Every few blocks, I mixed in some andesite with the cobblestone. Overall, it was coming together nicely. Here's how it looks, and honestly, I think it's turning out pretty well. Oh, I almost died from falling on the bed. That would have been the dumbest death ever. And I need to remember to place torches here or mobs will start spawning. That's how my days went by, adding shape and breaking the temporary blocks. I eventually stopped using cobblestone and switched to stone, which sped up the process quite a bit. I'm actually starting to like how this looks, and the torches make it look so cozy. After skipping another night, I flew to the mob farm to repair my elytra, then I went back to building the island. The only downside was constantly flying back to my storage for more blocks, but other than that, everything was going pretty smoothly. That's how I spent the next 10 days, building and more building. Here's how much I built so far, and man, I'm so exhausted. The island is so big that my chunks barely load all of it. Just so you know, I originally planned to build it way smaller, but things didn't go exactly as planned. Whoa, look at all these mobs that spawned over there. I finally finished the second layer of the island on day 958, and honestly it was worth it. It already looks incredible. I can't believe I even decided to take on something like this. Building such a massive structure in a world where I started with nothing, it's just insane. Oh, and the entire island is covered in grass now. It looks amazing. After that, I broke the old temporary blocks and built even lower, setting up a new outline to guide me. I made it slightly smaller to start narrowing the base of the island so construction became faster and easier. Maybe I narrowed it too quickly, but once everything is done, it'll look awesome. The next few days of my miserable life were extremely repetitive. All I did was build. Occasionally I took breaks to get more blocks and torches. Even though the third layer was easier to build, I was still getting pretty exhausted. My finger hurt so much. I don't even want to imagine how many times I clicked. Alright, that's it. I finished the third layer. It looks so cool inside with all the torches. Oh man. And this is how it looks from the outside. Just incredible. And on the morning of day 963, I was greeted by a rainbow. Wow, the vibes here are immaculate. After that, I broke the old path. And this is how the floating island looks during the day. It already looks pretty presentable and cool. Honestly, I could probably start decorating it as it is, but I decided to see it through to the end and fully complete it. I think this time we just need to build the final outline. This is how it looks. Pretty soon it'll all be finished. Next, I broke my path and went to the platform where I traded with the villagers and restocked my food supply. Then I continued placing blocks on the lowest layer. Alright, time to fight an Enderman. Wow, you're pretty weak, aren't you? Oh man, how many of them are here? Whoa, almost died from the Enderman. Only 2 hearts left. If I didn't have the best armor, I'd have died like 10 times by now. Take that, my guy. After that, I restocked my blocks once again and started some serious building. Since each layer required fewer and fewer blocks, I managed to finish everything in just a few days. Placing the last blocks, and done! The 4th layer is fully completed. Just look at this, I think you could build an entire city inside here. It looks impressive. And this is how it looks from the outside. It's absolutely breathtaking. I honestly didn't think I'd finish it. Just so you know, the construction alone took me about a week of my time. I'm so exhausted and worn out, you have no idea. Slime's even spawning inside here. And so, on day 964, I finished the bottom of the island. Done, guys, it's done. It's just insane. There's so many space inside that I can't even fly around. Just imagine what could you build inside a structure like this. The island was fully completed, and this is how it looks in its finished state. It took an unreal amount of time. It's been ages since I survived in such hardcore world, so I think I've earned the like and the subscription for all this effort. In the next episode, we're gonna build a lot of things on this island, so don't miss. It's gonna be crazy. And as always, it was Skillux. See you all next time.